Who gets to define our holidays? And what does that choice mean for kids, classrooms, and communities? Tonight, Maya brings lived history and community urgency. Leo brings skeptical forensic clarity. And we'll follow the money, the monuments, and whether policy actually changes lives. Tonight, we're walking straight into a clash of stories. A presidential proclamation celebrating Columbus, and communities nationwide centering Indigenous Peoples Day.
And in that clash are real people trying to heal, teach true history, and fight for material change, not just a renamed Monday.
Or maybe we're watching the media pick a new front in an old culture war. People want a holiday. Politicians want a headline. Which comes first?
Here's the verified scaffold. Last week, President Donald Trump proclaimed Columbus Day, praising Christopher Columbus as a true American hero and vowing to reclaim his legacy. That reverses the posture of President Joe Biden, who in 2021 issued the first presidential proclamation commemorating Indigenous Peoples Day.
Which makes it official. The White House holiday pendulum swings with the occupant. No surprise there.
But the people didn't wait on D.C. On October 13th, festivals and powwows filled cities. Folks showed up for culture, education, and survival.
Oklahoma City's First Americans Museum hosted food, performances, games. The mayor, an Osage Nation citizen, declared the day for Indigenous peoples locally, as he has since 2018.
In Santa Fe, the Honoring Native Nations powwow on the plaza mattered symbolically. A monument that once used the word savage fell there in 2020. Dancers took that space back.
Montana made an interesting move. Indigenous Peoples Day and Columbus Day together. State law, signed this year. That feels pragmatic.
Right. The sponsor, Senator Shane Morajo, called it a day that brings everyone together. Advocates stressed healing. Some urged, celebrate one, the other, or both. Your choice.
And organizers kept saying, this isn't about erasing anyone. It's about centering those who were erased. We're still here, as people in Santa Fe put it, still strong.
A lot of folks also see the proclamation as culture war theater. A political scientist called it one more front in the culture wars. He's not wrong.
Parallel to ceremony came policy talk. Tribal leaders noted a federal shift of nearly $500 million in education funds, with some directed to tribal colleges and HBCUs.
Investment in tribal colleges matters. As Larry Wright Jr. said, Indian country wants to invest in our citizens, so we contribute to tribal and U.S. economies. Material change counts.
And some of that shift pulled from schools serving many Hispanic students. That's going to open a fight over who gains and who loses. Policy is never cost-free.
Another unresolved issue, the Defense Department keeping medals for soldiers from the 1890 Wounded Knee Massacre. Critics warn such signals teach the wrong lessons to kids.
Kids are watching. When someone on TV defends honoring men who killed women and children, that tells Native children where they rank. That trauma is not historical, it's present.
But if we're moving forward, you need a clear standard. Which memorials stay, which go, and why. Otherwise, it's whiplash with every election.
Quick note on the patchwork. Counts vary. Some say 17 states and D.C. Others say around 20 states. Others cite more than a dozen states and at least 200 cities. Those discrepancies reflect different cutoffs and fast local changes. The picture is dynamic. What's clear is a broad set of Indigenous events spanned the country this week.
Now, let's put human stories on this. On Democracy Now!, filmmaker and writer Julian Brave Noisecat traced a family scar to a Catholic-run boarding school in Canada. He says his father was found as a newborn in a trash incinerator in 1959 at St. Joseph's Mission. That's not distant myth. That's a life starting in a furnace.
That story is wrenching, but it's also Canada. We should be careful not to import everything north of the border wholesale into U.S. policy.
Except it is U.S. policy, too. He pointed out there were about 417 such schools in the United States, triple Canada's count. The Truth Commission called it cultural genocide.
He also described the papal apology survivors received as focusing on individual bad actors, not the institution. Many faithful survivors felt let down by that framing.
Institutional apologies are always lawyered to the commas, but if people remain in the church and still feel abandoned, that's a problem the church should face plainly.
Let's layer in public discourse from the other side. One conservative YouTuber cheered, "Happy Columbus Day," dismissed Indigenous Peoples Day as mythology, and said Europeans civilized America.
He argued most of the land was basically empty, that many tribes fought, enslaved, and lacked writing or metalworking at European levels. So, the romantic noble image is invented.
Those claims flatten whole civilizations. The absence of steel mills doesn't erase governance systems, languages, agriculture, architecture, or diplomacy. Civilization is not a European patent.
Sure, but the pastoral fantasy is also propaganda. Pretending there was harmony and no conflict is a Disney mural. History has blood on every continent.
No one serious denies pre-contact conflicts. The question is power and scale. Colonization, industrialized dispossession, mass removals, broken treaties, boarding schools. That's not symmetric war.
Point taken. My beef is with selective storytelling. If we teach fuller history, teach all of it, the good, the bad, the ugly, without turning it into a morality play.
Which brings us to the street-level message. Organizers kept saying, the day isn't erasure. Christy Moses Parkinson said it's about original stewards, resilience, and not stopping the celebration.
Chase Iron Eyes put it cleanly, if Trump wants to celebrate Columbus, let him. But tell the truth about him. While celebrating Indigenous accomplishments, that's balance, not bans.
And Montana's approach tries that in law. A decade of advocacy ended with a dual holiday. One advocate said it was geared toward healing and recognizing all Indigenous peoples.
PBS interviews echoed that vibe. We are still here. My son is born into a world with Indigenous Peoples Day. Join a round dance. No special outfit, just hold hands and move together.
That's the kind of civic ritual I can get behind. If the point is community, great. If the point is finger-wagging, count me out.
Community without truth becomes amnesia. Joseph Lee said changing names was the beginning of a conversation about colonialism and genocide, not the goal. The hard work is land, rights, language.
And that's where this gets real. Treaty enforcement, economic self-determination, schools that teach accurate history. Not just swapping parade banners once a year.
Recap 1. The White House reframed the day. Cities and states staged inclusive Indigenous events. Montana codified a dual holiday. Policy shifts and painful symbols fueled debate.
Let's name the education gap. Even Native kids in Montana grew up not learning their own history. That's what advocates said. This holiday is a lever to fix curriculum statewide.
Curriculum should include triumphs and tragedies. Show Cahokia's mounds, Pueblo irrigation, Haudenosaunee governance, and also intra-tribal war and the realities of pre-contact life.
And show boarding schools. Noisecat describes survivors who coped by not speaking about the pain. Silence protected them, but it also hid the truth from their children.
Teach it, yes, but carefully. Despair isn't an educational goal. Kids need agency, not guilt assignments for history they didn't live.
Public memory also runs through monuments. Santa Fe reclaimed a plaza where a demeaning monument stood. Chicago still hosts a Columbus parade. America is practicing plural memory in real time.
Plural memory works if power shifts too. Museums opened free programs. That's good. But the metric is whether funding reaches language programs, housing, healthcare, tribal colleges.
On the $500 million reallocation, I want transparency. Who loses funds, who gains, and how outcomes are measured. If it's good policy, it can survive sunlight.
Evidence gap 1. Competing counts of recognition, 17 states and D.C., around 20 states, or more than a dozen states, and at least 200 cities. We need a unified ledger.
Exactly. If the numbers are fuzzy, the narrative gets fuzzy. Clarity helps everyone, advocates and skeptics alike.
Evidence gap 2, the medals at Wounded Knee. What is the process to revisit or rescind? Who's accountable? We can't leave that to drift for another generation.
And evidence gap 3, how the federal education shift will be implemented at tribal colleges, and whether it builds sustained capacity or short-term patches.
Also, can we please publish before and after budgets? Vague press releases are how mistrust grows.
Beyond money, this is about dignity. When kids hear a TV host justify honoring people tied to a massacre, they learn their pain is negotiable. That's corrosive civics.
Then let's set a standard. Honor courage, not atrocity, period. The bar should be moral clarity, not partisan convenience.
Back to the YouTube rant we noted. It mocked Indigenous Peoples Day as a 19th century romantic myth and claimed most land was empty. Let's interrogate those premises.
Empty erases people whose lifeways were seasonal, mobile, or riverine. Mobility is not absence. It's an adaptation to place. Treaties didn't target emptiness, they targeted nations.
And the Europeans civilized it line, that's a value judgment dressed as a fact. Technology isn't morality. You can have ships and still be wrong.
Meanwhile, indigenous governance informed U.S. democracy. The Haudenosaunee Confederacy influenced federalism debates. Complexity existed here long before sail met shore.
I'll concede this. The Stone Age taunt is a cheap shot. The real question is stewardship now, how we manage land, water, and memory in a shared republic.
Out in the plazas, that stewardship looked like powwows, round dances, museum programs, and community meals. People made culture together, no permission slip required.
And those gatherings were political in the best sense. Proclamation or not, community set the agenda, teach fuller histories, honor ancestors, invest in future builders.
In Chicago, the Columbus Parade rolled on. In Minneapolis, sunrise ceremonies. If we can hold both without screaming, maybe we're growing up a bit.
Recap 2. We heard a presidential pivot, a grassroots surge, a dual holiday compromise, a funding shift, and personal testimony that refuses to be forgotten.
I want to underline the survivors' insight about forgetting. People forgot to survive. Public remembrance is the counterweight. We remember so our kids don't carry the silence alone.
And we remember without turning humans into mascots, neither romantic nor monstrous. That balance is hard, but it's the only adult option.
So where does this leave policy? 3 markers. Enforce treaties, expand tribal college capacity with transparent metrics, and build curricula co-written with Native educators.
Add language revitalization. When Noisecat says his grandmother is one of 2 fluent speakers in their community, that's an alarm bell. Fund teachers, archives, immersion schools.
And expand local models that work. Montana's round dance isn't a think tank paper. It's a practice anyone can join. Shared ritual lowers the temperature better than tweets.
On symbols, set up independent review boards for contested honors with clear criteria and public timelines. If a medal or monument fails the test, act and explain the decision.
On media, stop platforming caricatures. When a rant claims most of the country was empty, push back with facts and with living voices from the communities allegedly missing.
On politics, presidents will posture, keep the center of gravity local. Museums, schools, councils. That's where the holiday becomes habit, not a hot take.
One more thread from the ground. Bring our people together. Dancers in Santa Fe said that. It's both invitation and test. Can a country hold multiple truths in 1 week?
It can if we keep the focus on justice. Name changes open doors, budgets walk through them. Healing is cultural and economic. Powwows and Pell Grants for tribal students.
And responsibility runs both ways. Government owes promises kept. Communities shape programs that work. Pride and pragmatism, not just protest and press releases.
As we close, the picture is not binary, not Columbus versus Indigenous, not statue versus erasure. It's a prompt to celebrate continuity, tell fuller histories, and pursue real reforms.
And to look survivors in the eye and say, we will not look away. We survived the night. Now let's build the day our children deserve.
Next time a holiday gets declared from on high, ask what changed on the ground. If the answer is nothing, it's branding. If kids learn more and live better, it's progress.
Coming up, we'll track whether those education dollars reach classrooms and who's counting the impact. Because if this is more than symbolism, the data will show it.